Merlinos and Associates is an actuarial consulting firm in Atlanta, Georgia. There's about over 50 of us here in the Atlanta area with a few remote employees. But what we do is we, as actuaries, quantify risk. We work for insurance companies, insurance programs, also for regulators, captive insurance companies. They all need actuaries to evaluate the pricing and reserves for their programs, and we are certified to do that kind of work. We also are involved in with companies that are providing insurance coverage for cannabis-related businesses as well as hemp. But for cannabis, we've been involved for about 5 to 6 years. Was our first client that we assisted in producing some pricing for a program they wanted to start in California. Well, in 2017, we were approached actually at a conference by AAIS. We've known many people at AAIS for years as we've worked with common clients. But we were asked to come in and help provide actuarial assistance in developing the rates for the new product called Cannabis to be introduced in California in 2018. January 1st, 2018, California legalized recreational adult use for marijuana. And so there was the amount of business activity that was expected and has been generated, created a big need for insurance products. The kind of industry trends I'm seeing now coming down the road is there's going to be significant growth in cannabis business market in the country over the next 2 years. It would have happened this year, most likely, that the states of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania are discussing a joint effort to come up with common statutory and regulatory rules for managing and regulating the cannabis market in those states. That's a huge part of the population of the country. It will drive, billions of dollars of business there and billions of dollars of needed coverage for property and liability exposures for those businesses that will emerge once it's legalized there. These states already have a medical marijuana program in each of these states, but those are very limited to only certain kinds of customers who are allowed to have prescriptions for specific products. So that this, like California and Colorado, when recreational use was legalized, the amount of business activity in the economy just grew by a lot. Another thing we see happening is that there's going to be some more interest as far as more players getting into the market to provide insurance coverage to these businesses. That creates such a big opportunity that many of the East Coast brokers and insurers will want to get into this market up, pretty quickly. Many of them have gotten some experience out west, California, in the western states, and up in New England to a limited extent. But I just see that the amount of activity that's going on is going to really generate a lot of opportunities for ancillary businesses such as lawyers and insurance companies and brokers to get really involved in that market. Well, insurers, whether you want to be in the market or not, most insurance companies have already made some adjustments to their policy forms to exclude coverage for anything related to cannabis or marijuana. This is because it's still listed as a Schedule I drug by the Drug Enforcement Association. That could change at some point in the future. And if that does, then more larger companies may then create products to sell into the cannabis market to provide property and casualty coverage. The other thing is, even if they're not involved in the product, they need to understand what the risks are because they're going to be homeowners who may have exposure, may be able to grow their own at home. That creates exposure there for those that growing exposure could produce crime. It could produce fire, water, all of that all the equipment that's needed to grow your own at home can create a real peril. So that's something you got to be aware of if you're an apartment owner and you need insurance to cover if somebody in one of your tenants legally can do this, but it can create risk for you, risk of loss. Yes, well, the cannabis program is very interesting. It's always in the news, and it's definitely an emerging market in the United States and really in the world as it's coming out of the shadows, so to speak, into regular industry and business here in the United States. But this is not new to Merlinos. Our firm has been around since 1988. And from the beginning, we've been involved in areas of crisis or emerging areas of risk evaluation. We've always been able to provide reliable actuarial analysis and opinions that our clients and associates depend on each day, and we'll just continue to do that, especially with AAIS and with hemp.